One.
All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Trustees of Osgood Hill meeting for Wednesday, May 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m. It is 7:06. We're going to be holding it remotely by video call here. And my name is David Brown, and I am the chairman of the Trustees of Osgood Hill. I have an opening thing I need to read here. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order, imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Trustees of Osgood Hill will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.northandoverma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch may do so on their televisions by tuning in to Comcast Channel 99 or Verizon Channel 28, or alternatively online at www.northandovercam.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the Town of North Andover website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after this meeting. If the public would like to participate in public hearings, please email your question or comment prior to or during the meeting to me, dbrown at northandoverma.gov, and I will monitor my email during the meeting to make sure if anything comes in that we can acknowledge it and try to address it. Then the question comment will be read during the proceedings and respond to accordingly. So, I therefore call the meeting to order, and we have present. I gotta get to my other screen. One moment. Why this works this way, but it does. There we are. Okay. Sorry about leaning very far in, but limited eyesight at this age. So the members that are present are, please say hello or I or something to acknowledge when I call you. Robin Ellington.
I am present.
You are. Great. Jerry Justin.
I'm here.
And Charles Matheson.
Present and accounted for.
Excellent. And Chair David Brown is here. So we have a quorum of 4. Also present are Director Joanna Valentine. Hi. And I never remember Andrew's title, but Andrew Shapiro, Director of Economic Development, I believe.
Community and economic development. You can't forget the community. But yeah,
community
I'm here.
And economic. I got 3/4 of it.
You did.
Yeah, that's not bad. Okay, so we have that. The agenda here. Okay. So the first item of business is approval of minutes from March and April, which were attached to the notice.
Yep. So,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from March 31st, 2021 and April 12th, 2021.
And I second that motion. Any discussion? Nope. Okay, hearing none, let's take a vote. If you're in favor, I'll call your name, say either aye or nay. Jerry?
Aye.
Robin?
Aye.
And Charles?
Aye.
And Dave votes aye. So the minutes are approved. Next item is Chairman's update, which I will now provide. Regarding the town-issued RFP for management of the estate, the slide deck that was presented by our town manager, Melissa Rodriguez, at the May 10th Selectmen meeting is attached to the agenda. Did everybody have a chance to look at that? Because that pretty well summarizes where we are. I did check with, it's called The Future of the Stevens Estate. I did check with Melissa this week to see if anything further had happened with regard to negotiations with Fireside Catering, and the answer to that is no. So it is basically exactly where it was on May 10th. No changes. So that's where that is. Anybody want to comment on that?
So just a couple of points, this is Jerry. I was actually able to listen into the select board meeting and hear Melissa's presentation. So just for the board's awareness, the effective date I think is October, and I remember the date, it's out of October 2021, which aligns with the kind of the budget for the Stevens estate that's going to be brought forward at the town meeting in June. And the other point that she made was, I believe she's going to go to the next select board meeting on the 24th to get approval for the contract, to get the select board's approval to enter into the contract, because I think it's 5 years instead of something less than that. So next Monday would be a key date for a decision. So obviously negotiations are still ongoing. And I think the presentation covered a lot of the points that were brought up over the last couple of meetings that this board had as it relates to some of the details. So I think Melissa did a very effective job in covering the kind of those open-ended items that were left hanging out there when we talked about it a few weeks back.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments on the presentation Melissa made, or that item A in our agenda here? All right, hearing none. Part 3B. So we did have a few open items that we were going to talk about at the meeting that didn't happen because we didn't have a quorum. And they were I think these were attached to this agenda. So both a full set of original questions and then the deck that Jerry prepared. So I'd like to put that up on the screen. Just go through it briefly, or yeah, let me do that. Yeah, I can move it. Google Meet has some interesting attributes, a good word, but I'm finally getting the hang of it. So I'm going to present that deck. That's going to present. There we go. I find if you talk to your computer louder, it listens better.
Yeah, right.
I had a probability and statistics professor who used to, when people weren't getting his point, he used to say it louder and then say proof by intimidation. All right, a little math humor. So here's Jerry's deck. Let me actually go to the beginning of it. Oh, there's a pretty picture on there, right? Responses to questions. Okay, and Jerry, actually, do you want to walk us through it since you prepared this?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll flip the slides as you tell me.
Yeah. So back a year ago, we'd prepared a memorandum with a number of questions related to items, the discovery documents, basically, that we had last spring. And then in light of the formal responses that we got from Melissa, as well as the Division of Local Services review of kind of say the finances and some of the other contractual related things in general accounting, I prepared this summary that includes both just some kind of summarizes what the questions were and did we get a formal response or not from the town, and if not, was it covered in the DLS report that was dated March 2021. So, and that report, DLS report, we reviewed a meeting or two ago. So if you go to the next slide or next picture. So what you see here is the question, and a lot of them had a number of subparts. I just provided a quick synopsis of what the question was, just for a frame of reference. Did we get a town response, a formal response, yes, no? And then what's my recommendation? Obviously, and then we're discussing it today. So, so on this first deck, our first set of questions, I believe that they're all complete, that there's no open items and
I do not see a response to the $1.7 million transfer from October 2019. I'd like to see a breakdown of that on where those
so that
funds
was,
were allocated and to what accounts.
okay, so that was under question number 2A actually, which we did get a formal response for back probably June of last year, June or July. So I'm happy to send that out again. I know there were a number of questions related to that and kind of the looking for the 1.5 million, but we
So
did
let
get
me-
a response. So if there's,
And I can maybe add one thing, Jerry.
Yeah.
I sent this deck to Melissa and asked her if there was anything she could add to it. And she sent me back a response. So I can read. This might help. I'm just looking for it, so bear with me. I think I have it. No, that's the question. Sorry, give me a second. I will find it. This it might be. It might help here. That's the questions themselves. That's not it. Bear with me, guys. Are you seeing my email now?
Yes.
All right. Let me move that away. Why aren't you seeing the deck anymore? There it is. All right. Okay. Oh, that's why. Okay. I downloaded it though. Bear with me. Bear with me. Here it is. Okay. So this was actually additional information about all 9 questions here. So I will scroll to the one we're talking about. If my computer would only allow me to put it on the other screen, it would really be so nice if it would do that. It won't. Now why? Nope. All right.
Dave, are you sharing your whole computer screen?
I'm sharing this, my second screen, and it will not let me drag this PDF view to that screen for some reason.
so Dave, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
So let's go through this deck.
Yep. And then add what I can.
Let's identify the areas where the board still has questions,
Okay.
and then come back around. We can leave this deck, move to Melissa's responses, and see if that helps
Okay.
clear up any loose ends. So you're not having to go like back and
Back and
forth.
forth. All right. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So,
all right.
Okay. So we've got still the question from Robin related to the question 2A. And there were a number of pieces to 2A or question 2 as far as movement of money, pooled accounts, all that stuff.
Yep.
Was all under question 2.
All right.
So unless there's anything else on this slide, we can move on to the next slide.
All right.
Slide 4.
Yep. 1 second. We'll do that in a second. Okay.
Okay. So for 4A, where we talked about indirect allocations, I kind of called this partially complete because the allocation model is still open. And I think the allocations have been covered within the fireside catering contract as far as who's responsible for maintenance, what services the town's providing versus what fireside is providing. So I think, well, we don't have the allocation model per se for going forward. We know what the approach is going to be based on the fireside catering contract discussions. Obviously, that isn't an approved contract, but so I would consider, with the latest information from Melissa, I would consider this complete. But Again, that's my point of view. Otherwise, all the other ones are complete. And that last one for number 6, just as
For
a
the
point of,
indirect allocation,
Yep.
you're just listing DPW services. What about the other indirect allocations?
that was the only question that we provided under 4A was that
Oh.
DPW was not part of the indirect. There was no allocation from DPW to Stevens Estate in
And
FY
that was just for,
21. Yeah.
I get it.
There's a number of other ones that are allocated. Again,
But it
providing,
didn't come under 4.
no,
Got
we
it.
didn't even ask because we knew there's an allocation there, right? And we've talked about that in the past of, why is it $80,000 versus something less than that? But that wasn't part of this particular question. So,
Got it.
and a number of these other ones around kind of accounting practices, and again, back to indirect expenses, cell tower revenue, lease revenue, all that kind of stuff, I think was covered under the DLS report.
All of that was, as far as
Yep.
I can recall. Yep.
But granted, but it was a recommendation by the DLS. It was not an audit. So there are still questions. They made recommendations that the cell tower lease revenue could be allocated against the Stevens Estate for improvements, that
Correct.
would be a viable source of income. But
Yep.
it wasn't a recommendation. It was a suggestion. So I don't really see this as having been complete. It's still a question in my mind.
Yeah, I think the nature of our question going back was why is, if the cell tower sits on the Stevens Estate, why
Exactly.
isn't the lease payment going to Stevens Estate? And I think they answered that question, that DLS answered that question, that's appropriate for those funds to go to the general fund of the town. But Robin, to your point, that it's at the town option of whether they want to allocate those dollars to offset the expenses at the Stevens Estate. I think in actuality, probably that already is based on the indirect, expenses that the estate is not picking up in FY20 or in FY21. So,
Can I make a comment, Dave?
Sure.
And I'm doing it at some risk because I don't have the information in front of me, but I think it had something to do with because the town paid for the Stevens Estate, it had a right to draw down the income from the cell tower and negotiate, and because it negotiated the contract, it reserves the right to have the money go directly to the general fund as opposed to have it go directly to the enterprise fund for the Stevens Estate.
Where is that, Andrew? Where is that written down?
I want to say that it's actually addressed in the DLS memo, and I'm trying to find the DLS memo right now just to confirm that. But so I say that, and I'll confirm as we continue to talk.
Yeah, I seem to recall the same thing, and I was just about to do the same thing, but two of us don't need to do the same thing. So go ahead, Andrew. I'll let you look.
I seem to recall a debt exclusion having to do with the purchase of the Stevens Estate.
Right, and the that's paid for through the town taking on debt to pay for it.
Right.
But it wasn't.
But I'm pulling up the DLS report. I'm just looking.
Okay.
You guys should keep discussing. I don't know why I'm having a hard time locating. Give me a minute. I mean, give me a few minutes.
we can come back
Yep.
to it. So that's another 6 6A, 6B kind of thing. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
And then the last
Oh, whoop. Hang on.
slide 5.
Yep.
Okay. So the last set of questions, number of them were related to compass cleaning, but there were some capital improvement ones. And the only open question that wasn't responded to in the town response was that contract, the existing contract that we saw within the discovery documents expired February of 2020. I'm assuming there's a new contract in place. Maybe Joanna, you may know that there is. And if there is, then this one would be closed.
Yeah, that I didn't ever see the compass cleaning contract as a question because it was, excuse me, because it was part of the town's contracted services that the Stevens estate would get cleaning after every event, and it's in the budget this year too.
Okay.
I found the DLS memo, by the way, so I can speak to that when you guys are ready.
Yep. So let me just, the last thing on the compass cleaning was 9D, where we had asked to be sure that Joanna, you're in the loop related to the kind of, I'll say, the renewal of the compass cleaning contract and make sure that your needs, cleaning needs are being addressed within that contract. And is that the case?
Yeah, they come after every event, so I have to tell them what I've given them a schedule of all of the events that we've got, even though it's kind of a moving target. So yes.
Okay. Oh, fair enough.
All right.
Okay. So then the only questions we have are really the financial one that Robin brought up, and then the cell tower lease
All right. So
revenue.
Let me. Yeah. Oh, I see. Got to get it out of full screen view. No, that goes into full screen view. Oh, I didn't want to do that. No, make this go away. No, I'm going to shut it. That's a way to make it go away. All right. Oh, nice. That's my background, huh? All right. Here is Melissa's. Now it'll let me move it up here. So this is what Melissa wrote me. Okay. So this was what you wrote about. Whoops. What you wrote about question 2.
Can you make that bigger?
No.
You're testing us. Okay.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Oh, that's better. There you go.
All right. So this is what you had to say about number 2. I'll read it for Charles' benefit because he's probably not online.
Yeah, thank you.
This was explained in the June 15th, 2020 memo from the Treasurer Collector. All accounts of the town of North Andover are owned by the town and overseen by the Treasurer Collector. The funds that come into the Stevens estate are held in a pass-through account. The expenses of the Stevens estate are paid from the town's general fund accounts in cash on hand and then reimbursed by the enterprise fund, which are the transfers that you are seeing. The transfers are authorized by the town treasurer/collector, who is the signee on all of the town's accounts. We would not make any notifications to anyone when making such transfers. These expenses are appropriated at town meeting, and these transfers are made to fund the expenses. An enterprise is still a municipal department that is subject to ordinary municipal finance procedures. Simple way to look at it is this. The funds come in on direct deposit and go into a quote-unquote savings account. We create a budget to spend that money on windows, labor to put in the windows, and to purchase groceries for the year. We buy the windows and pay for them with our checking account. In a few months, our checking account starts to run low, so we transfer the money that we have for the windows in our savings account over to our checking account to reimburse the account for the amount spent on the windows. He's just giving an example. So that is her information on item 2. Don't know whether that fully addresses Robin's question or not, but it's at least should be noted.
It explains the process, but I still don't know how the Stevens estate racked up $1.5 to $1.7 million in bills that were paid for with those revenues. Because what was put into the checking account was all revenue generated by events.
But wouldn't
And
that
all of
be
a sudden,
revenue?
this big lump sum was transferred, and I didn't see an itemization of where that money went. I don't understand how it was used to pay for bills, and I can't comprehend having bills amounting to $1.5 to $1.7 million that hadn't been paid when there was continuous withdrawals made over the course of that year.
Can I just make,
Yes, please.
Please.
so, and again, I'm not, to Robin's dismay perhaps, I'm not going to address that specifically, but what I will say is also, so you have that information from Melissa, so thanks for bringing that up, Dave. In the DLS report, it says that, and this is just a general overarching statement, our review of the financial documents regarding the Stevens estate, examples being audit, tax rate, retained earnings calculations, revealed the enterprise fund accounting to be consistent with DLS guidelines and general accounting practices, including segregations of funds identified for capital purposes. They found that the annual budget document clearly presents the estate story, finances, accomplishments, challenges. So I guess in a really overarching way, the DLS finds no inconsistencies with the way that the town has performed accounting or utilized the funds to the Stevens estate. And furthermore, we also have a third-party audit every year. We've talked about this numerous times. That third-party audit includes the audit of the enterprise funds that are run by the town. So multiple layers when we're talking about the auditors, the town accountant herself, multiple town managers, and now this DLS audit, and no one has found any financial inconsistency.
Well, the DLS did not do a forensic audit. They did an audit on where there were transfers from account to account, but they did not do a forensic audit, which is, to me, a deep dive on understanding where those funds went and what they were used to pay for.
Well, they also
That's my question.
They also didn't recommend a forensic audit because they didn't see anything on the surface that would necessitate a forensic audit.
I don't remember reading that in their report. They said, understand that this is not a forensic audit. That's all I read about a forensic audit in their report.
Did they recommend a forensic audit?
That wasn't their job. Their job was
to provide us
the financial principles of the operation.
And they provide commentary and some recommendations. And I don't think that doing a forensic audit, performing a forensic audit was included in any of those comments or recommendations. That's all.
No,
it
wasn't, because they don't perform forensic audits.
Right, but they could have recommended that a third party perform one, and they didn't do that. They didn't have to be the party that did the forensic audit. That's not what I'm suggesting.
No, they're not. And I don't think it's their place either to recommend a forensic audit, because that would suggest that one would be necessary. They're in a very, they're interested but not invested in that part of the picture. So they're looking at the surface, the accounting principles, where the money goes, what accounts it flows through, making sure that everything is above board. They do not look below the surface on where those monies were actually allocated, what bills were paid, and what accounts they went through. And so that's the basis of my question. And I understand that DLS does not do that. That's my point.
Well, guess my feeling is this. Let me. We can go around and all offer our opinions, I suppose. I have an opinion about this, but before I state it, does anyone else want to make a comment about this? Either Charles or Jerry.
Yeah.
Do you have something, Charles, you want to contribute?
What was the question?
The question is, Robin is making the point that, well, I mean, let me add a little bit of information. At one point, this board, our board here, asked for a forensic audit to be done.
Right.
It's somewhat problematic because we don't have a budget to do that. So we can ask for it to be done, and then the town neither could do, if I understand things right, we did ask, and the town has not done it. Instead, Melissa decided to order this DLS study, whatever you want to call it. DLS study produced a result. I don't want to put words in Robin's mouth, but I think she's not satisfied with the result.
Well, we already voted on it and said we would take both routes.
Right, but again, now I'm giving my point of view, but we don't have a way to do it. So it's impractical, in my opinion, Dave Brown's opinion, it's impractical because we can't pay for it, so we can't cause it to happen. We, the board, the trustees of Osgood Hill, cannot cause it to happen. All we can do is request it. I think that's an accurate statement. So, in my view, we requested it. What happened with the town manager asked instead for DLS to do what they did. We have a result. Now it's, what do we want to do next? We can stamp our feet and demand that we do it anyway, but we can't pay for it. We don't have a way to do that. Or we can decide that we're satisfied. Do you see it? Does anybody see it any differently?
So let's set aside the forensic audit for a minute and just focus on the question at hand.
Okay.
Question at hand is, do we have an accounting of all the transfer of funds between the Stevens state account and say this pooled fund that accounting uses? And I would argue that the information that the town person provided back in June, they provided both the Muni's reports going all the way back to 2017, and the Stevens estate account provided that accounting, the net receipts, the disbursements, all the way through over, I think, like a 4-year period. And from my review of that, there is no missing $1.5 million. And I'm happy to show you that table again, if that would help. Because I think if we can answer that question, do people still believe that there's like 1.5 million missing and unaccounted for? That's one question. And I think that's different than a forensic audit that is, much broader in scope, at least from when we talked about it last year. And quite honestly, I don't think a forensic audit is necessary given the work that's been done. So.
All right. So you want to show that, Jerry? I'll relinquish the screen.
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, there you go.
Can everybody see that?
Yep.
So this was part of the response that Melissa's referencing from back in June. So this shows the account statements, which I think we saw them in the discovery documents. here's the 1 million from October 2019 that we had the question on. So that's kind of one way to look at it. And then this is the Munis Fund 6901, which I assume is the Stevens Estate Fund, the munis that we've been looking at. That shows the cash balance. It shows beginning balance, net receipts, disbursements, and then ending balance. And you can see whether you look at it per the account statements or per the Munis Fund, the net receipts are the same. The disbursements are a little bit off. They're not exactly equal, but there's no, 1 million, $1.5 million gap missing dollars, basically.
So they're off. I can't really read those numbers, Jerry. Maybe make them a little bit bigger.
Let me give it a whirl.
You owe it to him, Jerry. He did it for you. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I'm not as adept at this stuff as he is.
It's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yeah, I know. How do I make it bigger? How'd you make it bigger, Dave?
If you hover over the, take your mouse and hover over like that, and you go down, drag it down a little bit. Keep dragging the mouse down. It should eventually light up down towards the bottom. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
F plus.
Get this thing out of here.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Bingo. Thanks, Dave.
Now you have to scroll. Yeah, there you go.
So I don't know how people want to look at it. I find that the munis is the easiest way to look at it because that shows you. I'll just go back to the far right. This is by month now, all the way back to 2017. And I go back to the munis.
Yeah.
And
if you go down to the bottom, I was just going to look at the difference between the two. So the revenues are the same. The expenses are off by about 100.
Yeah. Yep.
45.
So
about 200.
just to make the distinction, I never said the $1 million was missing. I saw that it was transferred out of the account, and there is no accounting for where that money went when there have been all of those withdrawals from the account along the way, supposedly to pay for bills. So why the $1 million transfer? That is my question. I'm not saying that it's missing.
Well, you can see the transfers here. So that what you don't see is the disbursements in this column here from the bank account. But again, it's like Melissa said in her response, was that there's transfers that are made, and then you're doing disbursements along the way
As you need them, right?
as you need them, basically. And so here there was there's 286 back in May of 2018, December 2018 there's 1,000, and then there's no disbursements until 2019. But all these charges are racking up.
Right, and I think.
So at that point in time, she made a transfer from essentially the bank account into Steve's estate to cover all these expenses that were occurred over these months, based on the Munis report. So.
Right, I think my interpretation, maybe I'm wrong, but my interpretation is that it just didn't happen to take instead of taking disbursements every few months, she waited a really long time before she took that one out, or that transfer, sorry. Took that transfer out.
This was before Melissa.
Well, whoever.
Yep.
Yeah. So for some reason, the transfers were delayed, so they added up to a bigger number. That's how it looks to me.
That could have been to generate interest.
That's an assumption. It's a question, and I don't have a satisfactory answer.
Okay.
But that's the only point I'm making.
Okay.
And I don't think it can be answered here tonight.
All right. Now, Melissa also had something to say about number 6, the open, what's the open one there?
That was related to the cell tower and the
Yeah.
lease.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
and all
Let
that.
me,
And
yeah,
all
let
that
me,
stuff. Yeah.
let me share her, again, let me share her note for me. I'll try it this way. Okay, so it's just one sentence. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
All right, I'll read it for Charles's benefit. It says, I cannot answer what the intent of the town meeting vote was, but since the funds have always gone to the general fund, I assume that was the intent. We are maintaining ownership of the premises. Part of our question 6 was concerned about it, about us not, about North Andover losing ownership, which is not going to be the case. So, I mean, specifically as to the why or whether or not the cell tower revenue should go to the enterprise fund versus the general fund, this is what our paid professionals are telling us.
Can I add something, Dave?
Yeah, please.
Because I was just going to mention the information from the Ellis report.
Yeah.
And it didn't go into as much detail as I went into in my initial response. But so on page, on the first page, where Melissa provides a cover memo, she says, as stated in the report, the cell tower revenue is going to the general fund, which is appropriate. Currently, that revenue is being used to offset the indirect costs of the estate, which we moved into the general fund last year to help the estate. So what Melissa's saying there is basically, you know, the town is kind of taking on a little bit of burden by not charging back the indirect costs, which it had done in previous years. And then further into the document, hold on page 8, DLS says, a revenue source subject to much discussion is the cell tower on the grounds of the estate, which generates roughly $100,000 in revenue annually. Per Massachusetts general law, the revenue is credited directly to the town's general fund. And then this is probably what Robin may have been inferring. However, through the use of a special purpose stabilization fund, all or a portion of these revenues may be directed for Stevens estate purposes. So there's guidance there on if and how the town could redirect the funding, but that the initial taking into the funds from the cell tower into the general fund is appropriate and correct by Mass General Law. That's what they're saying.
All right. So I don't know if stop sharing here. So
Can you share that memo with the rest of the board, please, Dave?
oh yeah, absolutely. You mean this what I was just showing? Yeah, I can.
Yeah, what we were just reading.
Yes, I'll be happy to email that around.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody want to discuss this any further? The status of the open item. All right. If not, my next item C, resignation of 2 board members. So in the last couple of weeks, we've had 2 members resign, Tom Dugan and Gina Irwin. So we thank them for their service, but they are no longer part of our board. And then related to that, item D, both my term and Jerry's term are expiring on June 30th. I can tell you that I have not asked, I have not requested to be reappointed. So I'm going to conclude my service on June 30th. Jerry, do you want to make a comment?
Yep. And the same for me.
So that brings up something, which is what do we want to do with regard to moving forward here? You know, well, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but because we should go through the rest of the agenda. But the question that people should be thinking about is, do we feel another board meeting is productive between now and June 30th or not? And either way, someone would need to take, someone who is remaining, I would recommend, take on the charge of letting the selectmen know whether you want to be reconstituted and get new members and all that kind of stuff. So we can save that sort of for the end. But I just wanted to get that out there. So unless there's questions, that is my report. Okay. So Jerry, I think Andrew did send around a brief snapshot of retained earnings. I can probably put that up. So you can see it. And then I don't know if you want to add anything else. Oh, this is going to be fun. It came in sideways. Guys, I don't know if I'm able to.
Dave, do you want me to share it?
Yeah, would you? Because it came to me
Sure.
sideways. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, hold on. Can you all see that?
Coming up. Yeah. There you go. Yep.
Although this is March 30th, 2021. That's not right. That's not the right one, is it? It should be April. It should be April. Hold on a second. I think I'm showing you the wrong one. My apologies. Give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing. Talk amongst yourselves here. I just need to find it.
At the back door. He's expecting a Gabby.
Okay. This should be it. And I'm rotating it. So this is as of April 30th.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that big enough?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want any commentary on it? I mean, I don't have much to say. I think it speaks for itself. So right now, we've spent, or we've taken in a total of 59,195, and again, that's as of the end of April. Obviously, we're a couple weeks into May here, so there has been some more activity, and I'm sure Joanna could speak to that.
Yep.
And then expenses as of that time totaled 161,751. So deficit of about $102,557.
Okay.
You take that from the beginning fund balance of 99,718, leaves you with a deficit of just over $2,800. So we're entering a period now where the estate is going to be taking on more events. So there will be more revenue to be had here, hopefully. And again, Joanna can speak to that.
Yep.
But this is the current picture.
Okay, that's what I wanted, so that's good. You want to, Jerry, do you want to add anything at all, or should we go right to Joanna's report?
Nope. Yeah, I think Joanna's report ties in this information with kind of like the full year FY21 projection. So.
Yep. All right, thanks, Andrew. So Joanna, it's all yours.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen. So I did attach a PowerPoint presentation to the agenda, but I updated it today because I had a lot of activity.
Okay.
So I will take the screen and I'll run the PowerPoint from mine. Can you see this?
Not yet.
Yeah.
All right. Can you see this?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I just updated mine. I used some of the Munis numbers that Andrew has just mentioned. But we've been really busy as we get into the end of the fiscal year, which is June the 30th now. We are less likely to book any new business for the next 6 weeks, but we have been booking some business. So I'm anticipating at the end of the year, we will be $70,000 in a loss, in the red. And that's without any of the deposits for events moving forward in FY22 are included. So I took those out. We have been really, really busy. So if you look at just the bottom section here, April 2021, if you look at January, February, March, our numbers are going up in terms of our inquiries. And if you look at May, we're not even 2/3 through the month right now, and we've already had almost as many inquiries as we had in the whole of March. Really, really busy. I've been finding too that now we're getting into the season. I'm speaking with a lot of the existing clients as well as booking new events. In April, I had a backlog of social event inquiries that I'd kind of put to one side while I was responding to all of the weddings, and had a backlog. And in the past two to 3 weeks, I've booked like 12 social events. That are happening between June and August of this year. And I anticipate that will stay steady throughout the summer and into the fall and winter. Because this all happened before the new May the 29th news from the governor. I've also got an increase in corporate business inquiries. We have got Cell Signaling coming back. They have been a regular corporate client since 2017. We've got Panel Call already booked for their Christmas party, which they've been a client since 2016. And then we've got a new piece of business, so 3-day meetings with Gillette. One of them is for 150 people, and then 2 of them are for 50 people, which is really cool. And it's showing that the corporate inquiries are coming in now. Again, people want to get together with their offices because everybody's been working remotely for so long.
Joanna, just before you move to fiscal 22.
Yeah.
So with the governor's announcement for the May 29th, I believe that the town board of health has to, I don't know, concur, agree, approve. I don't know what they do exactly.
Yeah.
But I believe there's a town concurrence that May 29th is like the magic date, and off we go.
Yes, yeah. So the governor announced last week that May the 29th is a day where everything goes back to normal. So for the Stevens estate, that means no longer do we have to set ceremonies up so families are 6 feet apart. We're still going to be requiring people wear masks when they come inside the house, but we don't have any spacing restrictions in the tent. We can hold 250 people with 10 people at a table. The most important thing is that we can now have people walking up to the bar to get a drink. That was causing some incredible amounts of problems. If you imagine, we've got like 25 events booked between now and the end of July. We were going to have to tray pass and table serve and take orders at the tables for all of these drinks, for all of these events, for 150 people or more, and it was going to be a real challenge. So this has come at a really great time for us, because May the 29th is Saturday. On May the 30th, we've got our first big event in the tent, which is 150 people. They're spending a lot of money on a hosted bar with all of the high-end liquors. We expect to have a big bar revenue for that night, which is great. So yeah.
So it sounds like there's some rules that are being employed at the estate that might be a little bit, I don't know, different than maybe what the governor is allowing. So who's making those rules? Like, for example, your example, the masks are required when you're inside the house for everybody.
Yeah, according to the governor, he's basically, if you looked at the mask.com website, he's basically saying we still recommend people are wearing masks, even whether they're outside or inside, when they're gathering with other people. But what the governor said, and then backed up with what the CDC said last week, is basically if people are outside, then the chances of spreading coronavirus are pretty slim. So I take all of my rules and my restrictions directly from the North Andover Board of Health, from Stephen Casey, who takes them directly from the state. And basically, I work within those rules, but I basically still believe that there is a certain amount of risk, and especially indoors. So while we've got all this beautiful space outside, we have the tent. We're still going to have people go inside to use the bar inside the house for that busy time during cocktail hour. But after that, we'll have people leave the house. But if there's people in the house, I still want them to wear masks for the safety of everybody. So whether that's something that comes from the Board of Health, whether that restriction is released or stayed in place, I really want to keep that in place at the Stevens estate. And I know I'll get pushback from some people, but I think we're giving them 90% by saying you've got the whole outside of the house. There's only the bathrooms pretty much inside the house that you can't get outside. So I'm going to try and continue to enforce it. Any feedback on that would be appreciated.
Okay.
My only comment is just to make sure that the rules are clear, what the basis of it is, and if it's coming from the Board of Health, that's kind of one thing. If it's coming from you, Joanna, certainly it's within your purview. Absolutely, that's another thing. And then, if there are those restrictions, then at what point would the restrictions be lifted? What's the criteria to not restricted?
So basically, looking
whatever. Yep.
Continuing with the numbers, yeah. Thanks. That's all right. So can I move on? You're all set with this?
Yep.
Page, we'll move on. So FY22. So in terms of revenue already booked, we have got $309,000 on the booking report. This is business already booked for next year, starting in July, ending June the 30th in 2022. So my revenue projections with the increase on the day of the event, I'm looking at 432,000. So that, even if we had so assuming we had a full year and we had a full year of using 100% of our expense budget in FY22, we'd still be making $109,767 in profit. And then FY23 revenue, we've already got $100,000 in booked business, which is July the 1st, 2022 through till June the 30th in 2023. And then I've just sent out my first proposal for somebody who's going to book 2023. So that's the first 2023 booking that we will have in by the end of June, I think. Not that you care, but it's a good measurement for me to have.
Sure.
Yeah. Good. So this is good. This is very good, and certainly I think you've done a great job addressing FY21 and kind of closing the fiscal year on a strong note with some of the work that you and your team have done, and in addition to set up FY22 for success. So my only suggestion would be, given the town manager is going to be has proposed a budget that's going in the warrant for Steve's estate, which covers, I think, through end of September, end of October, I don't remember which. If you could, certainly the requested budget is good kind of background information, but I think you'll really be measured against, against the budget, right? That's FY22 partial year budget, I'll say.
Well, I've already, so basically it was kind of a tough starting position there, because we know that 60% of our expenses are used during the first 3 months of the fiscal year and the last 3 months of the fiscal year. So it's not, our monthly expenses don't break down evenly, because we've got a busy season and a quiet season. So that was always going to be a little bit of a challenge, and obviously I will do my best to stay within that $67,000 budget with 25 weddings that we've got.
Well, if nothing else, this presents well for the town being able to negotiate favorably with Fireside. This is a good. I don't know what term to call it, but a good revenue projection, I guess, is the best way to look at it. So that's all positive, and congratulations for getting it set up so well. Hopefully, we won't go backwards; we'll just go forwards. So,
yeah, that's great.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I think I just handed back to you the screen.
Yep. Anyone have any other questions for Joanna? All right, thanks, Joanna. So
well done, done. That
Thank you.
report's amazing.
Yeah, in the middle of the you've hung in there really, really well, and I think it may not be obvious to you, but I know I feel very grateful that we have you, and that you were able to do this in the middle of a pandemic and shortened hours and all that stuff. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we have a couple of items left. Marketing. Robin, do you want to give any update on marketing?
Well, for some odd reason, there has been no marketing activity.
I can't work out why.
I have nothing.
Didn't you say that last meeting?
We actually had
and the situation continues.
The press release was issued for the Wicked Local Regional Gold Award, and that was in the Wicked Local.
Yeah, it finally appeared.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that was cool. And well, actually, right? I mean, that website is still relatively new, right?
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and I mean, John, I don't know if there's a way to measure that, but you must have an intuition as to whether that's made a difference.
Oh,
it was in her last report that she had up on the screen.
Yeah.
So I use Google Analytics, and I track very persistently. In fact, when I'm at home on my own time, I'm tracking the website on Google Analytics. But anyway, so December the 2nd, when we got the new website up, we are back on a higher plane. I'd love to. Do you want me to share my screen, and we'll check out Google Analytics?
Well, to take a snapshot, yeah, this takes a second. That'd be great.
Yeah. Let's see. Window. Okay.
Do that.
That didn't go down too bad. Let me pull analytics up first, and then I'll try and share the screen.
My family is having dinner in the other room. I can smell the roast chicken.
We're getting there, Robin. I promise we'll get you out of here soon. I cheated tonight and had dinner first.
All right, so I'm just going to real quickly show you the screen.
That's not cheating. That's planning ahead.
Okay. So can you see this?
It's coming up.
So this is just the number of users. Can you see this little graph here?
Yep.
Wow.
So basically, so this goes back up since 2017. So I first started using Google Analytics in 2017. This is the end of the year. We get like a blip in January when it goes quiet after the new year. So this kind of always marks the new year. Then this is the peak season of 2018, the peak wedding booking season from April, May, June, July through to September. That's when we lost the new old website and we got the Civic Plus website. So we've had Civic Plus all of this time until we get to bang December of last year, and this is where we are now. So basically you can see the trend. We are trending up from the new year as we did in 2017. So basically, if nothing happened, if we were to continue, we'd still see that trend going up, that trend line continuing to increase at this point. Like we did back then. We only lost the momentum then when we went to Civic Plus, but if we had kept it then, we'd be still up in this area now. But we've lost a couple of years and now we're back in. But I can't explain what these two really high peaks are here without looking into more detail. But it just shows you over the years how we've actually got a lot more people coming to the website. And then if I show you over the last 90 days, it actually will show you actually how many people are actually looking at the website. So I think this is the period before. So basically, this is where we are from March until May. And we're in the range of 200 to 400 with peaks of 800 people.
And is that, what's the time period? So that's every day? Is this like a piece of data from every day?
Yeah, so this is, 28th of February, 654.
So 800 people on May the 1st or whatever, April 20 something.
Yeah.
One particular day had 800 people.
Actually, no, it's a week. I'm sorry. It's by the week. So it's
by the week.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's
21 to 27. So yeah, 500 to 700, 800 in a good week.
Yeah, but 800 views in a week is pretty, I think sounds pretty good.
Stellar.
Yeah. And then I can show you some of all of the traffic that we've been getting. We've been getting mostly mobile traffic. That's what we find that people are looking for wedding venues and event venues using their phones as much as their laptop and their desktop.
Comment on the age of people who get married. They're phone users.
Let's find out. Actually, yeah, I have to say, overview. Let's look at our audience. It's mostly females, 21 to 35. Let's see if I can break this down a little bit. Demographics. So that, yeah, this is the age groups. And this is the gender.
Yeah.
So yeah, 64%, 65% women.
Yeah.
Um,
And they're oh, yep, that's what I expect. And that those blips in the older age groups are the moms and the dads that are scoping
Yeah.
out for their kids.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, we do have some people looking out for their kids for weddings, but we booked like several baby showers, celebrations of life, other kinds of older kind of cohort people that will be planning these events, like 90th birthday parties, retirements, things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, the wedding is definitely younger, trending, and female. But
Yeah. It's kind of what you'd expect.
No.
Yeah.
All right, that's great. Appreciate
A lot
that.
of good information.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Anyone have any other questions or comments for Joanna, other than a big thank you? All right. Public input. I'm do one final check on my email here, but I had none in advance and I have none now, so that's done. So then the question is the next meeting date, and this really goes to fundamentally to, I think, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. Do we want to try to have another meeting before Jerry's term and my term expire, or would the board prefer to wait, see what happens, see if the negotiations are concluded successfully? Basically, I need some direction as to what to tell, or I would prefer having some direction as to what to tell the Board of Selectmen, right? Because they would need to find at least 2 people to be able to have a meeting after June 30th, right? To serve on this board. So I feel like we should give them a heads up, because I'm not sure it would be. I mean, Andrew might bring this information to them, or Joanna could, but they need to know, right, that the board is needs to be reconstituted if that's what they choose to do. So I guess I'd like to poll everybody's feelings. Do you want to meet again, or do you want me to just go to the board and say, hey, if you want to keep this committee alive, you need to staff it. So I go ahead, Jerry. You can speak first, and then we'll have Robin and Charles weigh in.
So I think my view is that we need to wait for the May 24th select board meeting. If the fireside catering contract is approved, then it's a question, again, back to the select board of, does this committee still exist in that kind of new management model or not? And if it does, then it needs to be reconstituted. And I would also say the mission and the purpose need to be clear. Because I know we've struggled with that over the last couple of years, and we've tried to stake a claim to what we think the purpose and scope is for all the right reasons. But I think now, given the direction that certainly the select board wants to go in, that I think the need for this board is a question mark, and the only people that can answer that is the select board. So I don't think we need a meeting before June, unless this board is going to continue in some form going forward, for the long term.
Okay. Robin?
I disagree with Jerry, and I think that as a final's kind of a strong word, but as a continuing presence and a supporting presence for transparency, that we owe it to the town to provide our concerns and our not concerns either, our considerations for moving ahead, and how, if the town residents want to know what's going on at the Stevens estate, there has to be more than just the select board involved with that and reporting on what the status of the contract is, if the contract is being upheld by that catering company, and if they're meeting their milestones. There is no other way to report that activity to town residents. I think if we were to meet in the next 4 weeks and put down our concerns and our recommendations, that would be a positive step, and it would show our continuing support of the Stevens estate. And it would also be a service to the select board. They may not have thought of certain things. And they have never come out right to say what our future role will be. So that's number one. So I agree with Jerry on that one, that we need to understand that from the select board. What does this do to our board?
All right, Charles, do you want to weigh in? I'm sorry,
Well,
Robin,
being a new,
sorry, 1 second. Robin, were you done? I need to jump on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Charles, go ahead.
yeah, just being a newbie on the board and not privy to the past efforts of the board, I have to remain neutral on that issue.
Okay. Okay. Well, I have a couple of thoughts. Well, so first of all, I do think it's my opinion that there should be some sort of oversight committee that looks after what Fireside. I mean, assuming Fireside happens, there should be some kind of committee, whether it's this one or a newly formed one. I think there does need to be someone set of people that are looking after what's going on in the future. I agree with that. I'm not sure what purpose is served by this group meeting again by June 30th.
Because we know things. We have to share what we know.
So you're suggesting
If we come up with 5 points.
Oh, okay.
You know, it doesn't have to be a long future of the Stevens estate in FY22. Just these are the things that that require oversight.
Okay. And you feel that would be better done 4 weeks from now than tonight, like, for example?
Yeah. I think that if we all got together, if we all in our office space at home came up with 1 point, fed them into you, one last meeting, 30 minutes. These are the points that we're going to send over to the town manager and the select board. Don't forget about these things.
Okay. I could go for that. I think that would be good, actually, because we could sort of summarize kind of our work over the past couple of years that way, and kind of tie it up in a bow and say, here you go, select board, this is what we think.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got to make decisions now about whether you want to move, how and you want to move forward with oversight.
Right. Sounds good.
I think that's okay. What, Jerry?
So I have a question. I don't know if Andrew's still there or not, but maybe Joanna can answer it.
I'm here.
Assuming the Fireside catering contract is approved, who within town government manages the contract and all the stipulations and everything that goes along with it?
Yeah, it would be
That's
the town.
question number one.
Yeah, and I think it would be the town manager. The purpose of the vote, if I'm not mistaken, on Monday would be for the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, excuse me, to allow the town manager to enter into that contract.
Mhm.
So she would be the one signing the contract, and I think she collectively with the Select Board would oversee the milestones and information associated with that contract. So I know that Melissa already, in her capacity negotiating the contract, she's been negotiating the finer points of the contract. She's been the primary point of contact with Fireside Catering. And obviously, per the meeting last week, she provided that in-depth report on where they stand currently in contract negotiations. So it'd be Melissa with town staff reporting to the select board on the status of the contract.
Okay.
So really, at that point, so the vote on Monday is not to approve or disapprove the well, let me understand. Is there voting on Monday to say, yes, Melissa, you can sign it? Is it like ready to be signed kind of thing?
Correct.
Okay. So
to authorize her to enter into the contract on behalf of the town.
Right. So as she, right, with some probably limited flexibility on final details, I would guess.
I think they would. No, I think they'd be. I think. Again, I've been wrong before. I might be wrong again, but I think that at that point, I think it's going to be pretty clear all the terms of the contract.
Oh, okay. So really,
I believe.
Oh, okay. So if that's the case, then after Monday, we really know yes or no it's going forward, and in pretty good detail how it's going forward. So then at that point, oh Lord, okay.
Well, I think just, sorry, Dave, just to elaborate on that a little bit more. I think when I listened to Melissa's presentation and certainly the presentation was pretty complete, except for one piece, which was the governance piece. It was missing for me because we've got this board that's in place. Is it staying or going, or is it evolving into something else? So I think including a slide around her thinking around the governance would be something to consider. So it's not necessarily a contract point, although I've certainly seen it in contracts that the governance piece of it is captured within there. But if it's just like any other contract, and that the town has multiple contracts with a number of people, if it's just the same old kind of thing, just to put it simply, there's maybe nothing to elaborate on outside of Andrew, what you just got done saying, that basically Melissa in her role is ultimately the administrator of the contract per se. So,
she's the procurement. She acts as the procurement officer. Yeah. If we were a bigger community, we might have one of those, but we don't, right? So she acts as that. All right. Well, what I'll do, I guess, unless someone objects, is we'll try to organize another meeting for us between now and June 30th. At which point, when is town meeting?
30-minute meeting.
Yeah. When is town meeting, Andrew? Do you know?
June 15th.
Okay. I guess it doesn't really matter whether we do this before that or after that. It's not going to really impact what anybody does. It's really
no,
more,
I don't think it matters.
It's really more information for the Board of Selectmen to do with as they please, right, when we're all done. All right. Unless so I'll do that. I'll try to set up a meeting for sometime before June 30th, and assuming I can find concurrence between all five of you, sorry, and North Andover Cam, we'll make it happen. And I'll just put one item on the agenda if everyone is good with that. 30 minutes. Well, the agenda
summary.
The summary of our concerns and recommendations for going forward. All right. So, just out of curiosity, Wednesday's generally good for you guys?
Sure.
Yep. Okay. All right. I'll search for a Wednesday then. That's usually good for me as well. So I'll search for a 7 p.m. Wednesday. Does anybody? Well, actually, I have everybody together. Is there any? Does anybody know now that any particular dates in June are bad on a Wednesday night?
I can't do the 23rd. It's the NAMA Awards at the Stevens Estate.
So June 23rd is no good?
No.
Not June 23rd, okay. Okay, anybody else have a Wednesday they know they can't do?
I'm all clear all Wednesdays.
Okay.
Yes, Charles here, 16th. I'm sorry, 23rd. 23rd is no good.
The 23rd is no good. So 2 people can't
No.
do the 23rd. Okay. We won't
Right.
do the 23rd. We will not do the
Okay.
23rd.
Right.
So
If
actually,
we hold it on the 30th, Dave, we can have a party for you and Jerry.
that's a thought. Oh, and we could be probably together, actually. That's,
At the
Oh, yeah,
estate.
let's have our meeting together at the Stevens estate.
that's an idea.
That's right. That's a good
How
place.
novel.
All right. All right. Let me see if I can. Oh, well, I won't need North Andover Cam then, will I?
Oh, yeah, I should have mentioned this. We were able to meet in person starting on May 29th with, and in fact, we're actually supposed to,
Right.
in order to facilitate in-person public participation, and people want to do that.
Yeah. All right. So
So-
maybe June 30th should be the date.
We'll have cake.
Okay. Cake, I'm there.
It's also the end of the fiscal year. I mean, it's a big day.
That's true. All right. I'll see. I don't have to check with North Andover Cam anymore. So I can just ask Bernadette to send out a notice and everybody can accept it.
Yay.
All right. Nothing else. I will gladly entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn
Excellent.
at 8:30 p.m.
All right.
I'll second that.
Beautiful. Jerry, Robin, I take it you made the motion. You will vote yes.
Aye.
Okay, Jerry,
Aye.
Charles,
Aye.
and I vote yes. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you June 30th.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Aye.
everyone. Have a good night.
You got to
Bye.